This video is about the upright small wheel bicycles. I'm not covering recumbent or velomobiles in this video. As usual, I'm providing links below the video just in case you want to check out some of the resources yourself. The cheapest way to get into high speed but still small wheel bikes, either folding or separable frame bicycles, is still the Brompton steel frame. As you can see, you can get a steel frame even with a 3-speed hub for peanuts, just a little bit over $1,000, and you even get the 3-speed hub, which means that you're going to have some choices of speed. Obviously, if you are buying a bike for training, for racing, something like that, then what you care about is not so much climbing and the lower gears. You want the high gears, and in this case you would probably want to go up to a 60-tooth chainring, maybe possibly a custom built 70-tooth, which I have seen with my own eyes. I know they exist. Unfortunately, an upgrade like that is going to cost you an extra few $100s, but it's still going to be the cheapest way to get into high speed on small wheels that I can think of. If this is below your dignity and you have deep pockets, you can definitely go for the latest 12-speed setup with the titanium Brompton. This is not just for speed but all around a good tourer as well. I don't like the saddle. I don't think you would want to tour with a saddle like that, but for an extra few bucks you can get a much wider, much more comfortable saddle in case you want to use it for touring. And this 12-gear setup is definitely gonna cover most everything. You can climb, you can descend, you can speed, and the whole thing with the standard very skinny saddle is still under 20 pounds. Obviously there is a price for that. It goes up to 120 gear inches and the price is $6,000. So this is actually one of the most expensive setups in this video. It's more of an honorable mention than a recommendation, but because I think the price is really high. Another honorable mention in this video is going to be the Tern. They have an X11 version. They have a number of speed bikes. The fastest one is the X11, also the most expensive, but at under $3,000 it's still not a lot of money. The reason I'm giving it more of an honorable mention than a recommendation is because this is not a very good looking frame. It's still a machine-made product, although some parts of it, such as the brakes, are actually hand-built. And there is that latch brake in the middle of the frame, which is not as safe as in the case of the Brompton, and any brake in the frame is going to cause flexing no matter how you engineer it. So there are some corner cuttings here and there on this bike, but it is a very fast bike. It is well engineered, and there are some components here that are really nice. The low spoke count, the double spoking, and the hand-built hydraulic, very lightweight. Disc brake is really cool, I think. They also have a very wide cassette, which I think it is still a bit lighter than putting in a hub gear. At this rate, if you want to have a very wide range, and this bike has a very wide range, so you can use it for high speed, but with a more comfortable saddle. You can also take it out for a weekend trip, no sweat, because this bike can also climb. But they are using a massive cassette, which to me seems like can only fit a custom hub, which probably comes with this setup. But it's not for everyone. For this kind of an all-around bicycle, I would much prefer the reliability and durability of a hub gear, even if it's a little heavy. But this bike is an honorable mention, and I think the price is great, and it's going to give you a good number of years before breaking down. A new design, a relatively new bicycle on the scene that I would definitely recommend for speed is the Hummingbird, especially the single speed. It's not so horribly expensive. You're looking at $4,500 to $5,000 US. I know that's not cheap, but this is some kind of a plant fiber frame, very thick, very massive looking. You get the fat spoke wheels, single speed, so very light, has no suspension. Obviously there's going to be some flexing and on the seat post and on the steering column. That's unavoidable. If you want to avoid that flexing, you will have to go for the Moulton, which I'm going to talk about later in the video. But if you want something really, really simple, absolutely no maintenance, no gears, practically no brake in the frame to begin with, it has the rear dropout that folds under, and the steering column also folds down, so you can pretty much force it into an elevator or into a revolving door. It's still a pretty compact bicycle. The wheel size is the same as the Brompton, so it's pretty small and pretty delicate. But if you want something really, really light, the lightness is amazing. This goes down to about 14 pounds, which is approaching kick scooter weight segment. Now, if you want the gears, they also offer a somewhat heavier bike with a hub gear setup. This one is definitely more expensive. You're looking at closer to the price of a titanium Brompton, and the weight is still under 20 pounds, but just under. So it's up to you if you want to get the titanium Brompton or this one for an all-around bike that can do everything. It can do speed, it's still pretty light, but it can also be used for touring. But as I said before, for touring I would not use any of these racing saddles because it's just going to break your butt. The Birdy high-speed versions are definitely always recommended on this channel. I used to own a Birdy bike. I think it's a great design, very beautiful, very different avant-garde approach, great engineering as well, and everything is going to last for the rest of your life if you take care of it. What we're looking at here is really not that expensive. It's under $4,000. The Birdy R does not have the highest gear inches, but it has full suspension front and rear. You have hydraulic disc brakes front and rear. It has 20-inch wheels. I'm not sure I like the aesthetics of it. I really preferred the original 18-inch, but this is for speed. So as you can see on the rims, these are racing rims, and so you can also, if you want to push the gear inches, you can swap out the chain wheel for a 60. What I see here, just eyeballing it in, is somewhere around 50, and so you can push the speed if you want to. The hydraulic disc brakes are excellent. They certainly add to the weight. This bike is going to be above 20 pounds, but still under 25. I still think this is an excellent bike to get, even if you're focusing on speed alone. Birdy also sells the kind of all-around bike that would be somewhere the remote equivalent of the titanium Brompton with the 12-speed, except that this is not titanium, so this is going to be more like 25, little over 25 pounds. It has excellent speed, but can also be used for touring and climbing and so on. It has the usual Birdy things, only 18-inch rims, which in my opinion look better. And the price, I recently saw this on a site in Singapore, and the price was $4,000. Consider that the roll-off hub, the best hub in the business, is minimum $1,500. Hydraulic disc brakes for front and rear would be another $1,000. So what are you paying for the rest of the bike? $1,500. This is an absolute steal. For $4,000, you take care of this bike, you can use it for the rest of your life, and the 14-gear roll-off hub should take care of you from 0 to 45, 50 miles an hour, depending upon whether you want to do uphills or downhills or just racing. Definitely a heavier bike, so if you want just something for purely racing, then I would go for a single speed. I think for that, for purely training and racing, the Hummingbird single speed would be the best. But for something all around, upright bike that can do everything, I think this is really the most beautiful piece of all of them. I left the Moulton Speed for last. Obviously, this is the cream of the crop. As you can see on the price, this is not a cheap bicycle. In US dollars, you're looking at about $18,000. But what you're buying is not just a bicycle, it is a statement, a status symbol, and a work of art, really. You have to see some of these bikes in real life, as I have. The fit and finish is absolutely phenomenal. And even though the gear inches are not pushed as far as I would have pushed it, the maximum gear inches you're gonna get with this is 108. I mean, that's sort of okay. You can use it for speeding. And this bike was strictly built for speed, not for climbing, not for touring. I guess you could put on a heavier saddle and use it for like everyday use or commuting or some adventures on the weekend, but this was really built for racing. And you can see the space frame construction. It is the most rigid of all of them. You have full support for the steering column, so it's not gonna twist, it's not gonna flex and bend as you ride. So it's just an amazing bicycle to get. A version of the Moulton Speed was the one that established the currently reigning speed record back in the 1980s, but that was a fully faired version, so they wrapped it in a fairing. But this was basically the machine. And the fact that a bicycle with the state-of-the-art front and rear suspension can have a speed record, overcoming other bikes that have big wheels and don't have suspension, is really remarkable. So this is definitely the top of the line. Speed is all you want. I'm not too happy about the gear inches being only 108, but this is not a group set I would want to replace, because this is a top of the line Campagnolo carbon fiber set, so it's best to not try to tune this bike. If you opt to get it, you should just keep it as it came out of the box and keep it for life. I hope this video gave you some ideas in case you're planning on racing people or you want a small wheel for training purposes. And make sure to check out the links below. This is it for the current video, and
I'll be back.